Listen to me. This is not a coincidence. You didn't stumble across this by accident. You were meant to hear this right now. In this moment, there is something coming, and the time to prepare is not tomorrow, not next week, but now. July 17, 2025. That date is not just a calendar mark. It's a spiritual checkpoint, a divine appointment. And if you're one of the chosen ones, you can feel it in your spirit already. Something is shifting. Something is stirring. July 17, 2025 is not just another date on the calendar. It's not just a Thursday. It's not just a moment that will come and go like the rest. No, this date carries weight. This date carries warning. This date carries a purpose. And if you are one of the chosen ones, you already feel the pull. You feel the urgency. You feel the pressure mounting in your spirit. Even if you can't explain it to others, even if the people around you don't see it, don't feel it, don't understand what's happening inside of you, deep inside your soul knows something is about to shift. Something is about to break. Something is about to be released, but only if you are in position to receive it. This isn't about fear. This is about focus. This is about knowing that in God's divine calendar, certain moments are marked, certain dates are anointed, certain seasons are loaded with transition. And this moment leading up to July 17, it's been stirring for a long time. You've felt the tension rising, the battles increasing, the silence getting louder, the pruning getting deeper, because preparation always precedes promotion. And God never moves without giving a signal, never shifts without giving a sign. And this is your sign. This is the announcement in the spirit realm. This is the call to attention, because July 17 is not just about what will happen on that day. It's about what must happen before that day. There are things in your life that cannot be carried into your next season. There are mindsets, habits, relationships, distractions, even spiritual strongholds that have expired. And if you try to take expired things into your elevation, it will delay your destiny. It will weigh down your momentum. It will contaminate what God is trying to birth in you. And that's why the pressure has intensified. That's why you've been feeling stretched, feeling isolated, feeling tested, because God is not trying to harm you. He's trying to ready you. He's positioning you for a release that requires you to let go of everything that doesn't match where He's taking you. You see, when God marks a moment, He's not just looking for people who are aware. He's looking for people who are aligned. People whose hearts are tuned to His frequency, whose ears are listening to hissing to His voice above the noise, above the culture, above their own doubts, above the opinions of those who don't carry your calling. Because alignment is not about perfection. It's about obedience. And obedience is better than sacrifice. Obedience is what activates favor. Obedience is what opens doors that no man can shut. And chosen ones understand that divine timing without divine alignment becomes a missed opportunity, a window that opened but was never stepped through. Some of you have been feeling the urgency and you haven't had the words for it, but your spirit has been waking up earlier. Your dreams have been getting more vivid. Your environment has felt like it's closing in on you. Not because God has abandoned you, but because He's crowding out the distractions. He's tightening your circle. He's pressing on the areas that have kept you stagnant. And He's whispering, move, move now. Move before the moment passes. Move before the window closes. Move before the enemy plants deeper roots in places you were meant to vacate. This date, July 17, it's like a spiritual checkpoint, a divine scan point where heaven takes inventory, where the seeds you've sown, the steps you've taken, the faith you've walked in, all come together to determine your next level. And this isn't to scare you. This is to alert you. This is to wake you up from slumber, from spiritual laziness, from procrastination, from the trap of, I'll get to it tomorrow. Because tomorrow is not promised, but purposey is always pulling. And for those who've been asking, God, when will it be my turn? When will the breakthrough come? When will the gate doors open? God is saying, your turn is tied to your timing, and your timing is tied to your obedience. And your obedience is needed now, not later, because July 17 is not when it begins, it's when it's revealed. It's when the results of your current faith walk are brought into view. It's when your private sacrifices begin to echo in public places. It's when the unseen battles you fought behind closed doors start manifesting the favor that can no longer be hidden. You are being summoned to a higher standard, a deeper surrender, a clearer walk, because where God is calling you next, there can be no compromise. There can be no confusion. There can be no mixture between the holy and the habitual, between the God-given and the man-made, between faith and fear. And this moment before July 17 is where the separation happens, not from others first, but from the inner you that keeps holding on to things that no longer serve your purpose. Some of you are carrying old wounds into new seasons, and God is saying, you can't bleed into your blessings. You can't take bitterness into your breakthrough. And you can't take spiritual immaturity into a divine inheritance. That's why healing has been slow, because you haven't fully released it. You haven't fully forgiven. You haven't fully surrendered that pain. And you can't pretend your way into purpose. It requires honesty. It requires brokenness. It requires vulnerability with the Father. And others have been doing the right things, but in the wrong place, connected to the wrong voices, tied to the wrong people. And God has been shaking your environment, not because He's punishing you, but because He's protecting what's on you, what's in you, and what's about to come through you. And if you stay where you are too long, you'll miss what's been set aside for you at the next location, at the next level, at the next door that only opens if you're willing to walk away from where you are now. He's shifting atmospheres around you because He's already shifted your name in heaven. Your identity has been upgraded in the Spirit, and now your surroundings must match your calling. Your habits must match your identity. Your prayers must match your purpose. And your choices must reflect your destiny. And time is not waiting. The world is not waiting. The enemy is not waiting. And heaven is calling you to rise. Now, Not because the day itself is magical, but because the moment is marked. And what's marked by God cannot be erased by man. There are instructions you were supposed to follow, words you were meant to obey, assignments you were meant to complete. And this space before July 17 is where those things must be settled. They must be fulfilled, because this moment is not just personal. It's generational. It's generational. It's historical. It's part of something bigger than just your own blessing. It's about your bloodline, your legacy, your impact, your obedience becoming the bridge that others walk across, your yes becoming the reason someone else finds freedom. And it all comes down to what you choose to do now. In this moment of preparation, in this sacred window of time, where the heavens are watching and waiting for your response, chosen ones must break old cycles and align with purpose, not next year, not someday, but now, because delay is no longer an option and comfort is no longer your covering. You've outgrown the places you used to hide in. You've outgrown the excuses you used to lean on. And God is pulling you out of what was familiar so He can place you into what is divine. But that can't happen until you confront what keeps repeating in your life. Until you expose the cycles that keep you circling the same wilderness, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, even relationally, because cycles don't break on their own. Cycles break when you decide that enough is enough. You know the pattern. You've lived through it too many times. Moments of fire followed by moments of fear. Bursts of clarity followed by seasons of confusion. Saying yes to God, then drifting back into silence. Committing to change, only to fall back into what feels easy. But God didn't call you to easy. He called you to excellence. He called you to purpose. He called you to walk in power. And every time you allow an old cycle to continue, you delay the promise, not because God hasn't released it, but because you haven't released what's blocking it. You can't carry cycles and callings at the same time. They don't fit in the same spiritual space. You can't walk in destiny while entertaining dysfunction. You can't serve two masters, not in this hour, not in this season. You have to decide, do you want peace or patterns? Do you want growth or comfort? Do you want purpose or popularity? Because they don't always come together. And chosen ones, you were not selected to be stuck. You were chosen to change. And sometimes the first thing you need to change is what you keep tolerating toxic conversations, tolerating low expectations, tolerating people who drain your spirit, tolerating environments that shrink your gift, tolerating internal voices that whisper lies to your purpose, that tell you you're not good enough, not ready enough, not ready enough, not holy enough. And you've got to decide that voice, that cycle, that mindset, it stops here. It ends now, because you're not going into a week letting yesterday's pain determine today's choices. You're not stepping into your future dragging the weight of cycles. You were meant to leave behind. Cycles are built on repetition, but freedom is built on revelation. And God has been revealing. He's been whispering, warning, reminding you of who you are, showing you what's keeping you bound. And the truth is, It's not always was what others do to you that holds you back. Sometimes it's the things you keep doing to yourself, the things you know aren't right, but feel familiar, the routines that keep you small, the decisions that keep you safe but silent. But chosen ones don't live in silence. Chosen ones speak. They move. They break chains, starting with their own. Some of you were raised in cycles, born into dysfunction, surrounded by broken examples of love, trust, leadership. And you started to believe the lie that this is just who you are, that this is just how life is. But no, that is not your truth. That is not your inheritance. You are not bound to where you came from. You are not imprisoned by the pain of your past. You were chosen to rise above it, to be the interruption in your bloodline, to break what broke others before you, to be the one that chooses healing over hate, wholeness over fear, wisdom over reaction, and faith over familiarity. And that means making decisions that hurt your comfort, but heal your calling. It means walking away from what's easy so you can run toward what's eternal. It means saying no to people who expect the old you to stay alive because they're not ready to meet the new you, the called you, the focused you, the anointed you, the you that doesn't apologize for shifting, for growing, for evolving, for becoming everything God placed inside you. And yes, the enemy wants you to stay in the cycle. He wants you distracted, defeated, double-minded, because as long as you're looping, you're not launching. As long as you're circling, you're not climbing. As long as you're stuck in the familiar, you can't step into the fire of transformation. But what the enemy forgot is that you've already been marked. You've already been separated. You've already been anointed. And no weapon formed against your mind, your walk, your calling shall prosper. Not if you refuse to cooperate with the lies, not if you confront the cycle and call it what it is, bondage. This is why God keeps highlighting the same things in your life. This is why certain situations keep repeating, because cycles don't stop until they are confronted. And God is calling you to face it, not run from it. Not numb it, not hide it behind religion or routine, but face it, break it, speak truth over it, use the authority He gave you, because you are not powerless, you are not a victim, you are a vessel, and vessels can't overflow with old residue. Vessels must be cleansed, emptied, purified, prepared for something new. And in order to align with purpose, you've got to let God disrupt your preferences, your plans, your attachments, even your timelines, because purpose doesn't run on your clock. It runs on heaven's calendar. And if God says now, then now it is. Even if you don't feel ready, even if you don't have all the pieces, even if the path ahead looks unclear, your obedience is the key that unlocks clarity, and your surrender is the doorway to direction. Alignment isn't about perfection. It's about position. Are you in position to hear, to move, to respond? Or are you out of position, distracted by things that won't matter in eternity? Busy chasing the applause of people who can't promote you, overwhelmed by a pace that God never asked you to keep. You've got to slow down, tune in, make space for alignment, because alignment requires attention. Alignment requires awareness, alignment requires adjustment. And when you align with purpose, truly align, you begin to see what was always there, but clouded by chaos. Your identity becomes clearer. Your mission becomes louder. Your steps become bolder, and your life becomes lighter. Not because everything gets easier, but because now you're walking with His authority. Now you're walking with His intentionality. Now you're walking with us, God. And when God walks with you, He goes before you, behind you, within you, and surrounds you with favor you didn't earn, but were called to carry. But alignment also comes with sacrifice. It comes with pruning. It comes with the painful removal of what doesn't fit anymore. And you've got to trust that what God is removing is never greater than what He's preparing. You've got to trust that when something ends, it's not always rejection. Sometimes it's redirection. Sometimes it's divine protection. Sometimes it's heaven's way of saying, I have more for you, but you have to make a room. And cycles don't make room. They take it, chosen ones. You don't get to live casually when you've been called specifically, and your purpose isn't found in pretending everything is fine. Your purpose is found in surrender, in obedience, in walking away from the things that look good but lead nowhere, from the people who sound right but drain your spirit, from the behaviors that feel safe but sabotage your future. And when you decide to break the cycle, heaven backs your decision with strength, with grace, with peace that doesn't make sense, but makes purposey. And it starts with honesty. It starts with repentance. It starts with acknowledging that the cycle is real, that the pattern is familiar, but the calling is greater. And God is not waiting on your perfection. He's waiting on your participation, because the moment you say yes, fully, without compromise, without conditions, is the moment the cycle starts to break, the chains start to loosen, and the alignment begins to form. Divine separation is happening. Not tomorrow, not next year, not someday down the road. It's happening right now, right under your feet, right inside your circle, right in the atmosphere you're standing in. And if you're paying attention in the Spirit, you can feel it, you can sense it. You can't always explain it to others, but something inside of you knows that everything around you is shifting, that everything familiar is being reevaluated, that everything comfortable is being challenged. Because when God begins to elevate, He also begins to separate. And this separation isn't punishment, it's positioning. You may feel like things are falling apart, but they're not falling apart. They're falling into divine order. And what looks like loss is really protection. What feels like rejection is really redirection. What appears like confusion is actually clarity in disguise. And if you keep trying to hold on to what God is trying to remove, you're going to delay what God is trying to do. Because divine separation is not about who's good or bad. It's about what's air aligned and what's air assigned. And in this season, anything and anyone that is not assigned to your next level will begin to fall away. You're going to notice the distance. You're going to feel the silence. You're going to watch certain people stop calling, stop checking in, stop showing up, and you're going to be tempted to take it personally, to ask yourself what you did wrong, to wonder why they don't see your value. But this isn't about people walking away. This is about God pulling you up. And when God pulls you up, He doesn't always ask for your permission to remove the unnecessary. He just does it because He knows what's ahead of you, and He knows what can't go with you. Some doors are closing not because you lacked faith, but because you had too much of it. Some connections are being cut not because they were all bad, but because they were no longer necessary. And some places that used to feel like home now feel uncomfortable, now feel heavy, now feel off. Because God is removing the false coverings. He's removing the idols. He's removing the distractions. And when you've been chosen, when you've been marked, when you've been set apart for purpose, God will not let you stay entangled in what no longer matches your destiny. You can't bring everyone into your next season, and you're not called to explain your elevation to people who are committed to staying in cycles. People who don't want to grow, don't want to shift, don't want to surrender. And it's not your job to drag them into destiny. It's your job to obey. It's your job to move when God says move. It's your job to trust the silence, trust the separation, trust the subtraction, because sometimes less is more. And peace often begins where compromise ends. God is separating your voice from the noise, your heart from the distractions, your vision from the confusion. Because what He's about to release through you requires clarity. It requires space. It requires focus. And you can't build a kingdom life on shaky ground, on compromised faith, on polluted relationships. And if you've been feeling like everything familiar is slipping through your fingers, that's because God is teaching you to hold on to Him and Him alone, not people, not platforms, not positions, but the presence, His presence. There's a holy pruning happening in your life, and pruning is painful. Pruning feels like loss. Pruning feels like isolation. Pruning feels like betrayal. But pruning is preparation. Pruning makes room for growth. Pruning reveals what was dead weight, what looked fruitful, but had no root, what appeared loyal, but had no alignment. And God doesn't just prune what's bad. He prunes what's excessive. He prunes what's been outgrown. He prunes even the good so He can bring the best greater. But only if you're willing to trust His hand when it cuts. Some people are only connected to the version of you that they used to be. And now that you're changing, now that you're surrendering, now that you're starting to speak differently, walk differently, believe differently, they don't know how to handle you. And that's okay. Let them misunderstand you. Let them distance themselves. Let them say you've changed, because you have. And you were never meant to stay the same. You were never meant to stay small. You were never meant to stay hidden under the expectations of people who couldn't see your calling. Divine separation means God is interrupting your rhythm, shaking your normal, disrupting your attachments, not to harm you, but to release you. Because elevation is lonely before it becomes powerful. Obedience is costly before it becomes fruitful. And purpose is heavy before it becomes visible. But if you keep clinging to what was, you'll never step fully into what He is. And what is coming requires space, requires purity, requires freedom from old entanglements, from soul ties, from people pleasing, from emotional baggage, from half-hearted faith. You've been praying for clarity, for breakthrough, for next level favor. But next level requires next level obediency. And obedience sometimes looks like walking alone. Sometimes looks like being misunderstood. Sometimes looks like letting go without closure. Moving forward without applause. Trusting God without answers. And if you're in a season where you feel like you're losing more than you're gaining, it might be because God is trying to free you, not frustrate you, trying to position you, not punish you. You may not understand everything now, but if you look back, you'll see a pattern. You'll see how certain people were only in your life for a season, how certain opportunities were only meant to stretch you, not sustain you, and how certain losses were actually wins in disguise, because every divine separation carries a divine upgrade, a divine instruction, a divine layer of wisdom that you wouldn't have gained if God didn't allow that person to leave, that job to close, that door to shut. And chosen ones understand that sometimes the way forward is not through addition, but through subtraction. There are prayers you've prayed that God answered through separation. You just didn't recognize it because you were expecting the answer to come wrapped in comfort. But purpose doesn't come through comfort. Purpose comes through consecration, through separation, through sanctification, through walking away from what feels good so you can walk into what is good. And it takes courage to let go of what you love. When God says it's no longer needed, it takes faith to trust the unseen when all you feel is what's missing. But the God who called you is not confused, and He does not make mistakes when He cuts, when He closes, when He calls you out of the familiar and into the unknown. This separation is part of your becoming. This isolation is part of your instruction. This shedding is part of your shaping. And God is not separating you to leave you empty. He's separating you to fill you with something new, something pure, something weighty, something eternal. And chosen ones, you must discern the difference between what is seasonal and what is sacred, what is temporary and what is timeless, because the closer you get to destiny, the narrower the path becomes, the quieter the room becomes, the deeper the silence becomes, and that's when you know God is near. So don't resist what's being removed. Don't chase what's leaving. Don't mourn the doors that won't reopen. Don't beg to stay in rooms where your spirit no longer fits, because you weren't called to fit in. You were called to stand out. You were called to lead, to carry, to create, to shift, to build. And builders can't waste energy on what's behind them when there's foundation that still needs to be laid, vision that still needs to be birthed, an impact that still needs to be released through your life. This divine separation is God's mercy in motion, His grace making way, His voice saying, it's time to go higher, time to go deeper, time to get lighter. And if you trust Him, truly trust Him, you'll see that every disconnection was direction. Every closed door was clarity, and every silence was a setup for something sacred. You must protect your focus like your life depends on it, because in this hour, in this season, it actually does not just your physical life, but your spiritual life, your purpose life, your destiny life, because the enemy isn't after your car, your job, your bank account. He's after your focus. He's after your attention, because he knows if he can steal your focus, he can steal your future. And that's why distractions are rising all around you. That's why your mind feels like it's under attack. That's why peace feels distant and clarity feels rare. Because the enemy wants your focus scattered, your heart divided, your energy diluted. You're not called to chase everything. You're not built to handle everything. And you don't have time to entertain every voice, every opinion, every invitation, every battle. Some things are beneath your calling, and you've got to know the difference between what looks urgent and what's actually important. Because not everything that demands your attention deserves your response. Not every door that opens is your assignment. Not every conversation needs your commentary. And not every conflict is yours to carry. Because focus is more than discipline. It's discernment. When you're chosen, you have to guard your mental space like it's sacred. You have to shut down distractions like they're thieves. You have to filter everything through purpose. You have to be intentional about what you allow in your ears, in your spirit, in your environment, because your focus is your oil. Your focus is your fire. Your focus is your frequency. And when your focus is fragmented, your life becomes noisy, your spirit becomes heavy, and your vision becomes blurry. And blurry vision will cost you more than broken plans ever will. There are distractions that are dressed like opportunities. There are temptations that are disguised as blessings. And if you're not focused, you'll miss the trap behind the presentation. You'll miss the enemy behind the applause. You'll miss the spiritual warfare hiding behind the compliment. And that's why you've got to stay rooted in the Word, anchored in prayer, sensitive to the Spirit, because focus isn't just about being productive. It's about being protected, being aligned, being available for what heaven wants to download through you. Every time you say yes to a distraction, you say no to a divine appointment. Every time you chase validation, you lose alignment. Every time you let your emotions lead, you slow down your movement. And this is the season where you've got to silence the unnecessary. You've got to quiet the noise. You've got to step back from the crowd and lean in to what God is whispering. Because God isn't yelling over your distractions. He's waiting for your attention. And if the enemy can't destroy you, he'll distract you until you self-destruct. Some of the warfare you're facing right now isn't because you're doing something wrong. It's because you're finally getting close to doing something right. You're getting close to breaking the cycle, to writing the book, to launching the vision, to releasing the message, to praying with power, to walking in boldness. And the closer you get, the louder the distractions become, the more pressure you feel, the more chaos shows up around you. But don't confuse noise for defeat. Don't confuse resistance for retreat, because that pressure is a sign you're pushing through something heavy, something holy. You've got to be ruthless about your focus, unapologetic about your time, intentional with your energy, because your destiny is too precious to be shared with everything and everyone. And not everybody who wants your attention deserves your access. Not everyone who follows you is assigned to you. Not every opportunity is heaven sent. And not every good thing is a God thing. Some things are just distractions in disguise. And chosen ones must be able to discern the difference. There will be moments where you feel misunderstood, overlooked, even isolated. But isolation isn't always punishment. Sometimes it's preservation. Sometimes it's the only way God can detox your soul from the noise, from the opinions, from the pressure to perform. Because sometimes you need separation before elevation, silence before strategy, focus before fulfillment, and God will strip away the distractions so He can reveal the direction. Focus requires boundaries, and boundaries don't make you mean, they make you wise. They don't make you arrogant, they make you aware. And in this season, you've got to be okay with being misunderstood. If it means protecting your oil, if it means preserving your peace, if it means keeping your fire lit, because too many chosen ones are burnt out, not from warfare, but from wasted focus, from saying yes too much, from being too accessible, too available, too entangled with things that don't feed their purpose. You've got to reclaim your focus like your faith depends on it, because distraction is one of the enemy's oldest weapons. It started in the garden. It continued in the wilderness. It shows up every time you get closer to purpose. And if he can't get you to bow, he'll try to get you to look away, to lose sight of the vision, to doubt the promise, to settle for a counterfeit. And you've got to tell every distraction, every lie, every fear, not this time, not this season, not this mind, because I am focused, I am grounded, I am committed. Focus doesn't mean doing more. It means doing less with more clarity, more conviction, more intention. And there's a remnant rising who will no longer be tossed by trends, moved by moods, led by likes, distracted by comparison, but who will be anchored in calling, rooted in truth, fixed on the assignment, and unapologetic about protecting what God gave them. Because focus is a form of worship. It says to heaven, I trust your timing. I honor your voice. I value your instruction more than my impulses. You've got to set your face like flint. Keep your eyes on the prize, because there will always be noise. There will always be conflict. There will always be critics. But what matters is the mission. What matters, the mission. What matters is the mantle. What matters is what you were sent to do. And every time you look to the left or the right, you lose a little momentum, you lose a little fire, and eventually you forget why you started. So stay locked in, stay prayed up, stay grounded in what God showed you. The distractions are strategic. The confusion is calculated. The chaos is coordinated. And it's not just random attacks. It's spiritual interference designed to break your rhythm, designed to slow your progress, designed to kill your confidence. But you've got to rise above it. You've got to choose stillness over scrambling, peace over pressure, discernment over drama. And that means turning off some noise, walking away from some conversations, canceling some unnecessary commitments, and choosing your focus over their expectations. You are not called to be everywhere, to do everything, to please everyone. You are called to be faithful, focused, to be fruitful where God planted you. And that might mean simplifying your schedule, clarifying your goals, consecrating your mind, because confusion can't live where focus is guarded, and peace can't dwell where boundaries are ignored. Protecting your focus also means being honest with yourself, asking where your time is going, where your thoughts are dwelling, what your heart is chasing, because what you focus on, you fuel, and what you feed will grow. And the more you focus on purpose, the more heaven aligns resources, connections, confirmations, and open doors that don't require compromise. The enemy fears a focused believer because a focused believer prays with fire, moves with boldness, speaks with power, and walks in the fullness of God's plan. So don't underestimate the warfare around your focus, and don't minimize the power of your attention, because wherever your focus goes, your future flows. And the moment you decide that nothing is more important than what God said, is the moment you begin to see the fruit of clarity, the strength of alignment, and the breakthrough that only comes when you protect your focus at all costs. You've got to know who you are, and you've got to know it deep, because in this hour, identity is not optional. It's essential. It's the foundation, the compass, the anchor. And if you don't know who you are, the world will try to name you. The enemy will try to label you, and your past will try to define you. But you were never meant to be defined by your mistakes, by your trauma, by your shortcomings. You were chosen before all of that. You were anointed before any of that. And you've got to walk like it, talk like it, believe like it, because identity is not just about self-image. It's about spiritual authority. The reason you feel attacked, the reason hell keeps sending distractions, the reason doors have slammed shut and people have walked away, is because you're starting to wake up to who you are. You're starting to remember the mantle on your life, the weight of your calling, the fire inside you that refuses to die. And the enemy fears nothing more than a chosen one who knows they're chosen, who knows they're covered, who knows they're sent. Because once you know who you are, you stop shrinking to fit in. You stop apologizing for your light. You stop entertaining things that don't honor your purpose. You are not what they said about you. You are not the betrayal, the heartbreak, the failure, the delay. You are not the one who got left behind. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. You are not a mistake. You are a vessel, a light, a warrior. And your identity is rooted in something eternal, something unshakable. And when you start living from that place, not from insecurity, not from anxiety, not from fear of rejection, but from divine identity, everything changes. Your posture changes. Your prayers change. Your presence shifts atmospheres. There's power in knowing, not just believing, but knowing. And chosen ones can't afford to walk around in confusion about who they are, because confusion opens the door to compromise. And when you forget your identity, you'll start settling for attention when you were made for authority. You'll chase approval when you already have access. You'll seek validation from people who aren't even aligned with your destiny. And it all starts when you stop looking in the mirror of culture and start looking in the mirror of truth. You were born with something inside you that the world can't take and the enemy can't duplicate. A blueprint, a signature, a spiritual DNA that screams purpose, screams destiny. And when you understand that you weren't created randomly, you weren't born into this generation by accident, but you were strategically placed, intentionally prepared, divinely set apart, you stop living reactive and you start living prophetic. Not responding to circumstances, but creating shift with your presence, with your words, with your walk. There's a reason you don't fit in. There's a reason you feel different. There's a reason the crowd drains you. And it's because your identity was never meant to be shaped by the masses. You were carved out for something uncommon. And chosen ones carry weight that the average mind can't comprehend. You carry revelation. You carry assignments. You carry legacy. And when you know who you are, you stop letting the temporary distort your view of the eternal. You've got to break every false label, every lie that was planted in childhood. Every name spoken over you that didn't come from heaven. You are not broken. You are not too late. You are not unworthy. You are not damaged goods. You are not disqualified. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. You are heaven's idea wrapped in flesh. You are God's response to a problem in the earth. And the moment you stop agreeing with false narratives is the moment you step into your true nature. Your identity is not your job, not your followers, not your status, not your relationship. Your identity is who you are when all the titles are stripped, when all the noise fades, when it's just you and God. When the lights are off and the pressure is high, and what's left is something unshakable, something rooted, something built on truth. And from that place, you move different, you speak different, you love different, you lead different, because you're not operating from lack, you're operating from fullness. Chosen ones walk with the awareness that heaven backs them, that angels war for them, that favor follows them. And when you carry that kind of confidence, not arrogance, but holy boldness, you stop second guessing your gifts. You stop hiding your voice. You stop minimizing your impact, and you show up like someone who knows their Father owns it all. Who knows they're covered, who knows they're sent, and who knows that identity isn't just who you are, but whose you are. You've got to remind yourself daily. Speak it until your soul believes it. Write it until it breaks through your doubt. Meditate on it until it overrides your fear. Because the world will try to shake your identity. Your emotions will try to distort it. Your circumstances will try to bury it. But chosen ones are called to live from truth, not from trauma. Called to live from faith, not from fear. Called to stand in the middle of the fire and still declare, I know who I am, and I will not bow. I will not shrink. I will not forget. There is a version of you that already exists in the mind of God, fully formed, fully equipped, fully whole. And your journey is about aligning with that identity, shedding the layers of doubt, stripping off the lies of shame, rising into the fullness of who you were created to be. And that takes intentionality, that takes courage, that takes going deeper than surface level affirmation and anchoring yourself in divine revelation. People may walk away, doors may close, seasons may shift, but who you are in the eyes of God does not change, does not waver, does not need to be earned. It just needs to be received. And chosen ones must stop striving for what's already been given, must stop performing for love that's already been shown, must stop proving worth that was established before the womb, because identity isn't built in performance, it's revealed in presence. You've got to learn to walk into rooms without shrinking, to speak without apologizing, to take up space without guilt, to carry your calling without needing permission, because chosen ones don't wait to be crowned by man when heaven has already anointed them. In private, and the oil that's on your life was never meant to stay hidden. It was meant to shift things, to break yokes, to move mountains. And when you embrace your identity, you start living like a solution, not a spectator. There is power in authenticity, in showing up whole, in being unshaken by comparison, untouched by competition, unmoved by opinions. Because when you're rooted in identity, you're not competing, you're completing. You're filling the space you were born to fill. You're unlocking destinies by simply being you. And that is the most dangerous thing to the enemy. Chosen one who knows exactly who they are and refuses to bow, to blend in, to break under pressure. So you've got to protect your identity like it's treasure, because it is. You've got to guard it from environments that try to dilute it, from people who try to distort it, from experiences that try to redefine it. Because your identity is not negotiable. It is not for sale. And it is not based on opinions. It is based on truth. And when truth becomes your foundation, your fruit becomes inevitable. Your progress becomes unstoppable. And your presence becomes undeniable, because you're not showing up as a version of yourself. You're showing up as your true self. The one God saw before time. The one he called, anointed, preserved, and sent for such a time as this. You've got to be ready in season and out of season. Because life won't always give you a warning, doors won't always knock politely, and opportunities won't wait for you to get your feelings right. Chosen ones don't move on convenience. They move on conviction. They move when God says move. They step when the Spirit prompts, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's unfamiliar. Because readiness is not about how you feel. It's about how you've prepared, how you've trained, how you've submitted, how you've allowed the fire to refine you. And in this season, God is calling his chosen ones to be ready, not to get ready, not to hope to be ready, but to live in a state of divine readiness. There's a difference between waiting and wasting. And too many people are calling procrastination patience. They're calling fear wisdom. They're calling delay, discernment. But deep down, it's hesitation, it's doubt, it's uncertainty masking itself as caution, and chosen ones can't afford to live like that because assignments are time sensitive, battles are real, souls are attached to your obedience, and every time you delay, something divine is delayed with you. That breakthrough, that chain breaking word, that healing touch, that kingdom shift, it's all tied to your movement. And God is saying, be ready. Being ready means your character is aligned with your calling. It means your integrity is in place. Your heart is postured. Your ears are open. Your hands are clean. And your spirit is willing. Because open doors don't mean a thing if your soul isn't prepared to walk through them. Favor can elevate you to places your discipline can't sustain you. And God is not interested in launching you into visibility before you've been built in obscurity. That's why the wilderness matters. That's why the silence matters. That's why the delay has value. It's not punishment. It's preparation. It's God shaping the vessel before filling it with glory. Chosen ones must be battle ready, not just dressed up with spiritual language, but trained in prayer, rooted in truth, anchored in the word, because the moment you step into purpose, resistance will meet you. Warfare will find you. Opposition will test you. And you can't fight giants with weak faith. You can't slay Goliath with emotionalism. You need the kind of readiness that comes from hours in the secret place, from nights of tears that became strength, from fasting that silenced the flesh, from worship that aligned your soul. And that kind of readiness can't be microwaved. It's forged. It's developed. It's earned through obedience in the dark. You've got to be ready to let go, to walk away from what was, to release the familiar. Because being ready means traveling light. It means not dragging dead weight into destiny, not carrying bitterness into blessings, not holding on to people who can't go with you, because divine movement requires divine separation, and you can't soar while clinging to what God already told you to leave. Some of the delays in your life are not about timing. They're about obedience. And the moment you surrender what's in your hand, God releases what's in readiness. Means you stop waiting for the perfect conditions, stop needing clarity before movement, stop demanding signs before surrender, and you learn to trust the still small voice, to move at the whisper, to obey without debate, because faith without action is dead. And God is not looking for spectators. He's looking for participants, not those who clap in the pews, but those who say yes in the trenches, those who don't need a spotlight to be faithful, those who build when no one's watching, those who intercede when others are asleep, those who prepare like the door could open any second, because when it does, they'll be ready. Being ready is about spiritual maturity. It's about emotional discipline. It's about knowing when to speak and when to stay silent, when to stand and when to kneel, when to rest and when to run. And that discernment doesn't come from books alone. It comes from abiding, from staying connected to the vine, from prioritizing presence over performance, because readiness without relationship is just performance. And chosen ones aren't performers. They're conduits. They're vessels. They're carriers of heaven's agenda. And that means they have to stay aligned, stay surrendered, stay open, stay filled. You've got to be ready for acceleration, because when the shift comes, it won't come slowly. When God says now, it won't be gradual. It'll be sudden. It'll be fast. It'll be beyond your ability to calculate. And if you're not ready, you'll miss it. You'll doubt it. You'll sabotage it. Not because you weren't called, but because you weren't prepared. And preparation is your responsibility. Preparation is your offering. It's how you honor the call, by being faithful with the unseen, by stewarding the small, by mastering the mundane. Because the stage doesn't train you. The silence does. Readiness also means healing. It means confronting the wounds you've avoided. It means releasing the pain you've suppressed. Because you can't walk into promise with a broken perspective. You can't lead with an infected heart. You can't pour from a place that's still bleeding. And God wants you whole, not perfect, but healed, not flawless, but surrendered. Because chosen ones are not just called to build. They're called to break cycles, to restore ruins, to tear down strongholds. And that level of work requires readiness at the soul level. You've got to be ready for the wait, because favor isn't just blessing. It's burden, it's responsibility, it's pressure. And if you haven't built your strength in the quiet place, the spotlight will crush you. Chosen ones don't chase platforms. They carry mantles, and mantles require maturity, require depth, require stamina, and the anointing is costly, not in money, but in surrender, in dying to self daily, in saying yes when it hurts, in choosing the narrow path when the wide one looks easier. And that level of obedience doesn't come from hype. It comes from readiness. Being ready also means expecting God to move. It means living with anticipation, with hope, with faith that looks for miracles, that prepares for breakthrough, that organizes the house because rain is coming, that builds the ark before the flood, that packs the bag before the call. Because readiness is faith in action. It's preparation without evidence. It's trusting the unseen, because you trust the one who promised. And God honors readiness. He blesses expectancy. He responds to those who move in alignment with His voice. Even when the path doesn't make sense, you've got to be ready for rejection, for misunderstanding, for loneliness, because chosen ones will not always be celebrated, will not always be understood, but they must still be consistent, still be excellent, still be faithful, because readiness isn't based on applause. It's based on obedience. It's not about how many follow you. It's about how well you follow God. And when your yes is louder than your need for validation, you become unstoppable. You become untouchable, because you're not working for man. You're working for the King. Readiness is a posture, a mindset, a decision, and chosen ones live from that place every day. They don't need alarms to pray. They don't need crisis to fast. They don't need platforms to speak, because they live ready. They live poured out. They live with fire in their bones and purpose in their steps. And that's what sets them apart. Not talent, not charm, not resources, but readiness, a willingness to say yes before the question is even asked, to move when others wait, to believe when others doubt, to stand when others fall. And that kind of readiness makes you dangerous. That kind of readiness makes you a weapon. That kind of readiness makes you a world changer. And it starts not with a crowd, but with a commitment, not with a spotlight, but with a secret place, not with noise, but with a whispered yes in the dark. You've heard the call. You've felt the fire. You know in your spirit this message wasn't just information. It was confirmation that what you've been feeling, what you've been sensing, what's been stirring deep in your soul isn't by accident, it's by assignment, it's by divine appointment, because chosen ones don't stumble upon their purpose. They are summoned into it, pulled into it by the weight of heaven. And when that call comes, when that urgency rises, when that inner stirring won't let you sleep at night, you've got to respond, not with hesitation, not with excuses, not with fear, but with surrender, full and complete surrender. This is not the time to delay, not the time to second guess, not the time to seek comfort over calling, because the hour is late, the urgency is real, and July 17 is not just a date, it's a wake-up call, a spiritual checkpoint, a divine moment in time where God is setting things in motion, closing some doors, opening others, shifting the atmosphere. And if you've been chosen, if you've been marked, you cannot afford to miss it. You cannot afford to sleep through this move, because heaven is moving and you've got to move with it. There's no more room for lukewarm faith, for half-hearted obedience, for passive waiting. This is the season where the ones who are ready, who are alert, who are aligned, will be elevated, will be activated, will be assigned. And that means trimming the fat, cutting off the distractions, letting go of the dead weight, and pressing into God like your life depends on it. Because spiritually it does. Your destiny does. The people attached to your obedience do. And this is not just about you. This is about legacy, about generations, about history being shifted, because you said yes. God is raising up warriors, not wanderers. He's calling forth soldiers, not spectators. And if you felt isolated, felt misunderstood, felt like you were being pulled away from everything comfortable, that's not rejection, that's preparation. That's God setting you apart. Because elevation requires separation. And the chosen ones are always called first into the wilderness before they're released into the world, always broken in private before they're revealed in public, always tested in silence before they carry power in speech. You've got to stop asking for easy, stop begging for comfort, and start praying for endurance, for wisdom, for boldness, because to whom much is given, much is required. And if the fire on your life feels heavy, it's because the weight of your purpose is heavy. If the warfare is intense, it's because the oil on your life is potent. And God doesn't invest in what He doesn't intend to use. He doesn't pour out anointing on the idle. He pours it on the faithful, the obedient, the consistent, the surrendered. This is your moment to decide not just what you want from God, but what God wants from you. to stop negotiating the call, to stop bargaining with the instruction, to stop minimizing your worth, because the enemy isn't attacking you for your past. He's attacking you because of your future, because of the lives you will impact, the chains you will break, the darkness you will confront, the ground you will take. And he knows that if you ever get fully aligned, fully awake, fully on fire, you will become unstoppable, unshakable, unmovable. You've got to remember who you are, and more importantly, whose you are. You're not just anyone. You are chosen, handpicked by God, anointed for such a time as this, crafted for a divine purpose. And no matter how messy your past is, how unqualified you feel, how many mistakes you've made, none of that disqualifies you from being used by God. In fact, it prepares you, because your scars carry power, your wounds carry testimony, your pain carries wisdom. And God wastes nothing, not even your brokenness. Don't let fear paralyze you. Don't let your past shame silence you. Don't let other people's opinions distract you, because when God marks you, no one can unmark you. When he calls you, no one can cancel you, and what he's placed in you is bigger than what's been said about you, bigger than the rejection, bigger than the delay, bigger than the struggle. And you don't need a platform to be powerful. You don't need an audience to be effective. All you need is alignment, obedience, and the Holy Spirit guiding every step. You've got to rise now, not later, not when things feel easier, but now, with trembling hands if necessary, with tears in your eyes if needed, with questions in your mind, but faith in your heart, because this is not about perfection. It's about surrender, about trust, about stepping out even when the ground feels shaky, because your faith is not in the ground. It's in the one who called you to walk. And if he called you, he will sustain you. If he led you here, he will provide, he will protect, he will promote. And when the resistance comes, and it will, when the storm hits, and it will, when the enemy tries to distract you, and he will, you stand your ground, you speak the word, you lean into God like never before, because chosen ones don't run. They rise. They don't cower. They conquer, and the fire inside them burns hotter than the fire around them. They are not defined by what that they face. They are defined by who they serve, and they walk with power because they walk with purpose. So get ready, not just mentally, not just emotionally, but spiritually, physically, practically. Wake up early if you must. Fast if you must. Clean your environment. Clean your heart. Build the altar. Seek his face. Because when July 17 arrives, when heaven begins to release what's been held up, you want to be found ready, not reaching, aligned, not scrambling, focused, not distracted. And when the door swings open, you don't want to hesitate. You want to walk through boldly with your head held high, your spirit stirred, your soul on fire, because when that moment comes, and it will come, you'll know it was all worth it. Every tear, every delay, every sacrifice, every season of silence, because suddenly it will make sense. Suddenly the pieces will come together, and you'll step into rooms you didn't earn. You'll walk through gates you didn't build. You'll carry authority you didn't buy, not because of you, but because of God through you, because of your obedience, your readiness, your unwavering yes. And as the world watches, as the ones who doubted you sit in silence, as the ones who left you see your rise, don't gloat, don't get proud. Stay humble, stay grounded, stay surrendered, because the same God who raised you is the same God who sustained you. And it's not about the stage, it's about the souls. It's not about the title, it's about the testimony. It's not about your comfort, it's about His kingdom. And you've been chosen not for status, but for service, not for attention, but for impact. So take this word and run with it. Carry it like fire in your bones. Let it sharpen you, refine you, build you, shake you free from complacency, and awaken you to the call on your life. Because this is not entertainment. This is an invitation, a summons, a divine command for the chosen ones to rise, to move, to obey, because heaven is watching, hell is trembling, and the earth is groaning, waiting for the sons and daughters of God to be revealed. Let this be the day you say yes for real. No turning back, no watering down, no apologies for your anointing, no shrinking for the comfort of others. Let this be the day your purpose catches fire, your soul catches wind, and your feet start moving with divine conviction, because you are chosen, you are called, you are ready, and your time, your moment, your divine assignment is now. This is the final stretch, the final push, the final preparation before manifestation. You don't have time to doubt. You don't have time to settle. You don't have time to waste. Chosen ones, the clock is ticking and heaven is watching. Before July 17, 2025, align your heart, clear your path, and step into everything God has prepared for you. Not tomorrow, not later, but now. You are chosen, you are anointed, and your time is here.